Well, I'm getting ready to go out for another day of crappie fishing on Lake Guntersville. It's February 1st and it's foggy this morning out on the lake, so it's been a little bit delayed getting out there. It's pretty thick, so didn't want to risk it. Starting to lift now, so I think I'll ease my way on out there and see how the crappie fishing is today. A couple weeks ago did really good. Last weekend not so much. The water temperature was down in the 30s, which was really cold, and there was a big shad kill, and the fish were just, the crappie were just not biting. They were in some of the same places, but not as many, and they were grouped up real tight and very picky. So hopefully today, after it's been warm for several days, things will change. Water temperature should be in the 40s instead of the 30s today. It's flowing okay, but not great. It's around 21,000 CFS right now, maybe 22,000. And we're going to use the same things I like to use each time. Got my rod, my crappie sticks out here, ACC crappie sticks, and got a weight up here above, a split shot above the bait. I'm using I don't know what size weight that is, but there's a 1/16 ounce jig head here and a Clobber Minnow. This is my favorite bait when you're trying to match the shad. So we'll be using that one a lot. And then my finesse bait, go-to bait, is again on a 18 inches above the bait is a little crappie magnet, and I like pink. I think for whatever reason the Guntersville crappie at least like the pink color. Sometimes using a pink head helps. This time I'm using a chartreuse head and a pink bait, but they seem to like that pink color. And of course you got to use a loop knot. That's important to get your jig to hold freely in the water column. And then today I'm going to try some hand-tied crappie jigs that I was messing around with last night. So I don't know if you can see those or not. There's sort of a pink and chartreuse, and then just an all chartreuse one, and then a more natural sort of, that one's kind of black and white with a little fluffy tail on it and some flashy stuff in there. So anyway, give those a try today and see how that works. So with all the warming trend, I was out of town last week all week, so I didn't get a chance to fish since it's been 36-degree water. So I think things will be better. We're gonna go find out though. This spot is a stump on a creek channel. It's a pretty deep spot. I tried some bluff walls before this, but there were too many other boats and the fish were small that I was catching, so decided to move on to this spot where I've caught bigger fish in the past. This was the first drop on this spot, and that's typically the best chance for getting a bite. Too. Oh yeah, that's a good one. This one. There we go. That's a good one. 12-incher or so. Nice. Hand-tied hair jig, kind of more natural color. Let's see if we can recreate it. I was excited to catch a fish on a crappie jig I had tied the night before, and was experimenting with different colors this day, so it was really neat to catch one on it. But just watch what happens on the next fish. I thought it was a big crappie, but it turns out to be something different. We're almost in front of them. Let's see what they do this time. Oh, he's looking. Well, that's a big fish. Got it. Ooh. I don't think that's a bass or something. Definitely not a crappie. But check out this bass on the hand-tied hair jig. Nice. Look at, he ate it right there in his lip. That's a good bass right there. Really nice bass. Take that. Let's see how much he weighs. Let's get the weight. Get him up off the bottom of the boat. Woo! 4.5. 4.5. Almost a 5-pounder on a crappie jig. Well, that'll work. He was at the top of the pile too, so I thought it was a big crappie, but no, that was a really big bass. Try this one. See if that works. One tip for fishing active target and crappie in particular is to fish the edges. You'll see that I always fish the top edge pretty well, and usually you can get some bites there, but you'll notice on this presentation where I don't get a bite on the top of the group, so I let it fall all the way down the back edge of the pile, and that's another high percentage spot. Is somewhere along the way you usually get one to pull out of the back edge of the crappie, or when you get right to the bottom, one will pull off the bottom and eat it. Chartreuse hair jig. different technique. Just let it go really slow. Little one. Hey, fish. The fish on that creek channel stopped biting and got real picky, so I moved to some rock ledges that I've had pretty good luck on. This section doesn't have active target because I had a technical issue, but just a few fish without it and then it'll be back. No weight of a clobber minnow. Good one. You'll notice in this video compared to my video from a couple weeks ago, I'm doing a lot less rod tip shaking. The fish just were not in the mood for that. So you kind of had to dead stick it in most cases to get them to bite. And that's just something you have to learn to adjust to as you crappie fish more and more. That's one really nice thing about active target is you can tell how the fish are reacting to your presentation and adjust however you need. This next spot is pretty noisy from the traffic on the bridge up above. This is the 431 bridge going into the town of Guntersville, but they are really stacked up on pieces of the old bridge that they left underneath the water when they took it down. You can see just hundreds and hundreds of fish here. Not all of them were crappie. There's mostly shad, crappie, and white bass in this area. I could tell from the reaction I'm getting on the screen here that these weren't crappie. They were just too aggressive and multiple fish chasing it with a lot of action on the bait. That's typically a stripe, a bass, or something like that. And in this case, it was a white bass. And there were a ton of these bigger white bass schooling around this area. And so I stopped here and had a lot of fun fishing for crappie and white bass. White bass. It's a good one. Way to do it. There's a good one. The Clobber Minnow. There were groups of crappie stacked up behind that concrete that you see, that structure in the active target. But it was so hard to get it past the stripe or the white bass that were hanging out above them, and you can see those represented here. That this is a big school of them.
They're bigger. You could tell by the size, just a little bit bigger than the crappie were that were underneath them and kind of masked by them. Here's one that's real aggressive and took that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. This is either a big white or a really good crappie. Fighting like a crappie. Nice big white. Good one. Oh, there's crappie in there too. On that one.
You can use similar techniques for the stripe that you do with crappie and just fishing above the school and keeping it in front of their face. But the one difference is once you get one interested, the stripe are way more aggressive and you really do want to jig it or pull it away pretty hard, and that gets them to react, and they often go into competition with others by them, and it'll force one of them to eat it.
Another big white. Fun.
This drop is a good example of how you can fish the edges, like I was mentioning earlier in the video, and drop it down the back edge of a group of fish and get one to pull out. I knew by the way this one reacted it was probably a crappie, just because it wasn't quite as aggressive of a take in the way he came out of the pile after it.
Pink with a white tail. That pretty fish. That is a good crappie. .5 inches.
This next drop is very similar to the previous one, where I fished through the crappie, and at the back edge one comes out and kind of slowly, methodically follows it, which is a giveaway that it's likely a crappie. But if you watch real close towards the end of the drift when he's following it, I didn't feel the bite. I set completely off the reaction I got on the screen, where you'll see him just surge at the bait, and I just knew he was on there and set the hook. That's a big tip for fishing with active target. This next fish is really hard to tell whether from the bite if it's a crappie or if it's a white bass. Both of them will hit the bait like this and react to it. And this is one where I didn't know until I started fighting it what it was. White bass just fight so hard, especially when they're in deep water with current like this situation is. It's just a blast to catch them on light tackle. Be a good white. Chartreuse.
Got him on that chartreuse hair jig. Good fish.
This next group of fish is definitely classic white bass. You can see them, they're bigger targets there on the active target out at the front edge at 40 feet. And there's multiples, and underneath them is the shad. You can see the big bunches of shad, clouds of shad, and you can watch as they get aggressive as I jig it through them. Multiples come after it. There's some coming up from the bottom, below them. And it's just fun to get them all fired up and then have them hit your bait and reel one of those guys in.
Frenzy on that one. They look bigger. I don't know if these are this is another white, or maybe this could be a bass or something. Just a little big white. Man, they're so fat. Look at that. Those guys must be getting ready to spawn.
When the white bass are super aggressive like this, and they usually are, they will hit just about anything that looks like a shad. I was using a Clobber Minnow and various other lures, but my favorite is a spark shad. If you go to the tackle shop and get yourself some spark shads, I think that's on a 3/8 ounce jig head, spark shad in different colors, but the natural silver shad color is a really good one for just catching fish after fish on the days when they're schooled up like this. Give it a try. I think you'll like it.
Like that.
This next drop is a great example of what it looks like when you see feeding fish on the shad, right? You can see the bigger targets there, and then they're moving in and out of the shad, and you'll see holes and gaps and things developing in the shad below them as they feed on them. And I missed the first big group of fish there, but what I did was I let the bait float down the edge of the shad, and you'll see this is really cool. One comes out of the back edge that was feeding on those shad, and you couldn't really tell, and he just takes it.
Okay, enough with the whites. It's fun, but I'm gonna go try one more spot for crappie and then call it a day. That's a good one though. The Clobber Minnow worked really good for whites.
This next spot here is a popular crappie spot with a lot of people, and it's really cool to fish with active target because you can see the old bridge structure that's still underneath the water there really clearly, and you can also see the crappie and how they group up around the structure really clearly. the fun spot.
See all those crappie on top of that whole bridge. They're usually really picky though, so let's see.
To end the day just like I started it, fishing for crappie. It was a great day enjoying God's creation. I was able to get multiple species of fish and just have a really good time on a much warmer day than it has been in the past couple of weeks.
Sunset on the rear jig.
Well, it was a pretty good day out there on Guntersville today for the first day of February. The crappie didn't really bite as well as I had hoped. I think I only probably caught maybe a dozen or 15 crappie, and most of them were small. There were a handful that were 12 inches, or a couple maybe I've gone 13 if I was lucky. I did catch one 4.5 pound bass, so that was a nice bonus. He was right above a stump with the crappie. You'll see it in the video, or you saw it in the video by now. And the white bass were just gorging themselves today on shad, and it was pretty easy to catch those. You could just find schools of shad and see the big white bass feeding over top of them, just drop something, anything that looked like a shad down over them and put it in their face, and they ate it, and that was fun. They were all 2.5 to 3 pounds, big whites, so it was fun on the crappie rod. It's another good day of fishing on Guntersville. Things are changing. The water temperature was in the mid 40s all day. It got up to like 47 at the end of the day. So with all this warmer weather, it's definitely got things changing. You could tell, catching a bass while I'm crappie fishing, the bass are starting to move, the whites are moving. The crappie, I don't know where they went right now, but they definitely moved. A couple weeks ago, they were all grouped up, and then it got cold and warm, and they all seem to have moved again. So I'm going to have to go find them. I tried several new spots today and didn't really find them. So they're not really on brush piles like I had hoped they would be. They're sort of on bluffs still and on creek channels. Maybe some of them went up shallow. I don't know. I'm going to have to look. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you got something good out of watching this today. It helps you catch more fish.